Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Let's pray this evening to open this council tonight. Almighty God, who has given us this good land for our city and community, Father, we humbly entreat you that we may always prove ourselves a people mindful of your favor and glad to do your will. Give us thankful hearts for those that serve the citizenry of this city in faithful duty, day after day and night after night. Protect and keep those that offer their lives to this community and put themselves in harm's way. Bless our city, Lord, with honorable industry, sound learning, and pure manners. Save us from violence, discord, confusion. Save us from pride and arrogance and from every evil way. Lord God, defend our liberties. Empower with the spirit of wisdom those to whom in your name we entrust the authority of the government of this city, our mayor, council members, and city department heads, that there may be justice and peace, and that through your obedience to your law, we may show forth your praise among the communities in this state. In the time of prosperity, fill our hearts with thankfulness, and in the days of trouble, do not allow our trust in you to fail. All which we ask through Jesus Christ our Lord, in the name of the Father, and in the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Pastor Greg is with the Open Door Community Church on Turkey Foot Road. Thank you. So with that, I'll call this meeting to order. Now call to order the regular meeting of February 2nd, 2016, Erlanger City Council. I'd like to ask that we all rise for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is a larger crowd than we were expecting this evening, or at least that I was expecting. We do have a larger council chambers for some of you who may have not been here before, but the back portion of our council chambers is taken up right now with what we call the FATS machine. It is a device. It stands for Firearms Training System. Is that right? Training Simulator. It is on loan to us from the Kentucky League of Cities. It travels all around the state, and we've got some of the officers that are trained on operating that system here in Erlanger. So a lot of other cities will come and visit us while we have it here. It's here till February 8th. It's really an incredible system. So I'll ask Mrs. Hoffman to please take roll call.
Mr. Meyer.
Here.
Mr. Burke.
Here.
Mr. Dunhoff.
Here.
Ms. Skidmore. Here. Ms. Sudkamp.
Here.
Ms. Pitts. Here. Ms. Kyle.
Here.
Ms. Cahill. Here. Mr. Cahill. Mr. Skidmore.
Here.
Mr. Blankenship.
Here.
Mr. Howard.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. You've received a copy of the minutes for the January 5th, 2016 regular council meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to be made at this time? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion that they be adopted as presented. Motion by Mrs. Kyle, second by Mrs. Skidmore. Do I have, let's see, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right. The next thing we have is the approval of the agenda for this evening. You've received a copy of the agenda for the February 2nd, 2016 regular council meeting. Are there any additions to be made at this time? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion that we adopt. A motion by Mr. Meyer, second by Mrs. Kyle. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, so we'll move into our special presentations for this evening. The first thing we have are our DARE essays and presentations. Officer Shepard.
Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council and visitors, thank you for this opportunity. I have 3 DARE essay winners here tonight. The DARE program is something that we teach in the schools here in the Erlanger-Ellesmere school system. I do 3 of the schools, and Sergeant Cummins does the 4th school, Howe Elementary, and he also does St. Henry. The DARE program deals with bullying, peer pressure, how to resist peer pressure, and of course the dangers of drug and alcohol abuse, including marijuana, crystal methamphetamine, and of course heroin. It is our belief that if we can teach the children and show them the dangers of those drugs now, we will better help them to make a decision against taking those drugs later. To pass the DARE program, they have to write a DARE essay. It is not their favorite part. It is my favorite part. Each class has a DARE essay winner. And tonight, if you are the DARE essay winner and you live in the city of Erlanger, you come to the Erlanger City Council to read your DARE essay as part of your prize. If you are in Ellesmere, you will go to Ellesmere. Tonight we have 3. And they're all right now hoping that I do not call them first. That being said, I'd already told Lexi Killian that she was going to go first. Lexi Killian for a DARE essay winner.
Have you ever witnessed a situation where someone you love has overdosed and been rushed to the ER? Well, in DARE we learned how to be drug-free. You will also learn strategies to avoid situations so that you can be a drug-free kid like me. In this essay, you will learn how to say no to drugs and ways to be in charge. So let's get into those facts. Here are some facts about how to avoid the situation. If you know places where people are often using drugs, stay away from those places. You don't want to become a drug user because you are hanging around those places. I already read that. Sorry. Now that you have learned some schema about what it means to avoid the situation, let's talk about another way to be in charge. Have strength in numbers. Hang around with groups who are non-users. Walk with them, especially when you are going to a place where you might think have drugs. All 5th graders in DARE learned that if you walk alone and you see a group of drug users, they may try and get you to try drugs. There are many things you can do in this situation. The easiest is giving them a cold shoulder and walking away. Now that you have learned some schema about what it means to have strength in numbers, let's talk about the damage drugs can cause. The damage drugs can cause depends on what kind of drug is being used. If you do drugs in school, it can slow you down in school and in sports. If you're good at sports and start using drugs, you can lose a scholarship that may be coming your way. By doing drugs, you're also losing close friends. I am positive they don't want to hang around a drug user if they aren't using drugs. One other thing a drug can do is hurt your family. They don't want to see a family member doing drugs. It's very upsetting. Now that you have learned some schema about what it means, what can happen to your life if you use drugs, let's talk about some drugs. Marijuana can cause breathing problems and memory loss. It is also known as the gateway drug. Marijuana can lead to harder drugs like heroin. So because marijuana is a gateway drug and can lead to heroin, I should tell you about heroin. Heroin is a brown substance that can be boiled to make into a liquid. The liquid is then put up in a syringe and injected into your vein. Once you've done that, the heroin is affecting you as soon as it enters your body. Heroin is a drug that many people use. After a while, if you keep injecting yourself in the same vein, your vein will collapse, which means blood will not flow through that vein. Don't do heroin. I lost a loved one from heroin, and I want everyone to stop using drugs and live a long, healthy life. Heroin is a dangerous drug and can kill you on the very first time. When you buy heroin from a drug dealer, the amount of money a dealer takes will determine how much heroin or drugs you will get. Every time you buy heroin or any drugs, the dealer gets richer because you can get addicted, meaning you keep going back for more and more drugs. In conclusion, drugs are bad for your body and life, so don't do them because it's not cool. Using drugs will hurt your friends and family. Remember, don't try any kind of drug and stay away.
Thank you, Lexi. It's okay.
Sorry about that.
She get any autograph?
Friend.
An old friend?
We coached basketball, coached their team last year, me and
Oh, how sweet.
Lexi is from Lindeman Elementary. Our other Lindeman Elementary winner is Mr. Stephen Wills.
There. Mistakes, they can be pretty easy to make, but you can't avoid them. Some mistakes are worse than others. In my opinion, the worst three are doing drugs, bullying, and falling into peer pressure. This is what we have DARE for. D for drugs, A for abuse, R for resistance, and E for education. DARE tells about drugs, peer pressure, and bullying. Today I'm going to tell you what I learned in DARE. Drugs. First, I learned about drugs. You will be surprised about what these things can do to you. There are many different drugs, such as marijuana, crocodile, ecstasy, alcohol, heroin, crack cocaine, crystal meth, and tobacco. All of these drugs can really mess up your life, especially kids. For example, if your grades are really good and you start doing drugs with your friend and your grades go down, this is one way that drugs can mess up your life. Another way drugs can mess up your life is because it can mess with the function of your brain and make you do things you wouldn't normally do. Those things aren't always good, and there's a possibility that you might end up in jail. With jail comes not being able to see your family. Sometimes you might run out of money because you spent it all on the drug. And you can lose your house, your family, and you can even become homeless. Peer pressure. The second thing I learned was peer pressure. Peer pressure is when someone tries to get you to do something that isn't always the best choice. Peer pressure is like a mousetrap with spoiled cheese. If you want the spoiled cheese and you go get it, you have fallen into the trap, and next thing you know, you're headed down the wrong path and there are consequences to face. Drugs and bullying are the main characters in this movie. Drugs are spoiled cheese. The person who set out the trap is the bully by making you hurt yourself, and the trap itself is peer pressure. Falling into peer pressure is your decision. It all depends on if you listen to the person or your heart. Once I was at the basketball court and my friend was with some older kids who were smoking. They kept giving him a hand motion to take the cigarette. He did, but then he handed it back. If he wanted to smoke that cigarette, he could have been throwing his whole life away. Bullying. Another thing I learned in there is bullying. Bullying is an aggressive or unwanted behavior that happens again and again to isolate, harm, or control another person. There are 4 types of bullying: cyber, social, verbal, and physical. Cyber happens the most. Cyberbullying is when you get on social media and talk about someone for no reason. Social bullying is when you are in a group of people talking about or making fun of someone for no reason. Verbal bullying is when you are talking to or behind someone's back. Sometimes it can even be spreading a rumor about someone. Physical bullying is when you beat someone because you're jealous or you just have something that you don't like about yourself. Once I had a cyber problem. A girl kept calling me using *67, prank calling me, saying that she was going to call the police and that she was going to beat me up with some other inappropriate words. At the time, I was in the 3rd grade, and still, to this day, I wonder what I did to that lady. The reason I don't like bullying, drugs, and peer pressure is because they can all mess up your life, and just the fact that they're bad. When you think about it, drugs can help you in the long run.
Lastly tonight, we have from Miles Elementary, Mr. Lucas Cooley.
Were you ever taught DARE? Well, DARE got me thinking what to do for my life. It made me start thinking what to do and what not to do, like bullying. It also impacted me because drugs can really rip apart families. Lastly, DARE made me want the urge to help these problems. Bullying can affect people's lives. Cyber, social, verbal, and physical bullying is sad and bad. Social bullying is what I think is the worst because it can end relationships. I was once bullied, and it affected me because he was my friend. But we talked about it, and now we're building a relationship. Lastly, the biggest type of bullying going around is cyberbullying, because instead of being there and having the chance to be caught, bullies do it online. DARE taught me about drugs, and it really moved and impacted me by sadness. A story that almost made me cry was a dad chose heroin over his own daughter. Drugs are yucky, and since DARE taught me about drugs, I know never to touch drugs. I also learned about some of the drug effects, and they aren't pretty. Lastly, I'm happy that I got an education like this, because now I am prepared to face big problems in the future. Lastly, DARE made me want the urge to help these problems. Now I understand what bullies and drug users are going through in their lives. I wanted to help because it was so sad. Just naturally, I wanted to help. I am also grateful for DARE because in the future, DARE may save my life with the knowledge I learned. My grandpa and my aunt smoke, and every time they do it, it almost makes me cry because the only thing it does to them is hurting them. DARE got me thinking what to do for my future. I'm glad I got my education so I can protect my body and make good choices. Growing up is hard, but since I learned this, I know how to react when bad things happen to me. Now I have the confidence to take on middle school and do the right thing. Thank you, Erlanger City Council, for letting me share my essay. Thank you, Officer Shepard, for teaching me DARE.
Lexi, Stefan, and Lucas, don't take off. Lucas, come back. Lexi, Stefan, can you come up? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Me? I'm always willing to say something. Oh, well, okay, I can do a picture too. Yep, go up there, guys. Go up there. Oh, me too.
Hey, you're getting down really good.
I think you should be in there, DARE officer.
You got the gun. Put out in any picture you want.
Great job, kids.
Thank you, Officer Shepard, for all you do there. Thank you. It's a great program.
Thank you.
All right, next up on the agenda, we've got the oath of office for several people. We'll start off with Police Lieutenant Mike Lemming. You have somebody to hold the...
Good job, buddy.
Great.
Congrats.
Now the bosses are here.
All right. You will, let's see, all right, I was going to, right hand on the Bible, yeah, or, no, I'm sorry, right hand, yeah, thank you. All right, I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the Commonwealth, and be, oh, okay, I'm sorry. All right. Sorry, I'll do that in smaller pieces. And be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky, so long as I continue a citizen thereof, and that I will faithfully execute, to the best of my ability, the office of Police Lieutenant, according to law, and I do further solemnly swear that since the adoption of the present Constitution, I, being a citizen of this state, have not fought a duel with deadly weapons within this state, nor out of it, nor have I sent a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons, nor have I acted as a second in carrying a challenge, nor aided or assisted any person thus offending, so help me God. All right, thank you. Did you want to say something?
We're going to do the next one. You want to do Sergeant Claire, and then we'll let him talk?
Okay, sure. Okay, so next up we've got Sergeant Kim Clare.
And ladies and gentlemen, during this, it's okay to come up here and take pictures, family members, if you'd like. It's okay.
Chief, you said you wanted to say something afterward?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, if you'd like, I can go through the whole thing and you can just say I do at the end, or you can repeat the whole thing after me, however you prefer. You want to just say I do? Okay. All right. So, yeah, right. Left hand on the Bible, right hand up? Okay. I, Kim Clare, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the Commonwealth, and be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky so long as I continue a citizen thereof, and that I will faithfully execute to the best of my ability the office of Police Sergeant according to law, and I do further solemnly swear that since the adoption of the present Constitution, I, being a citizen of the state, have not fought a duel with deadly weapons within this state nor out of it, nor have I sent a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons, nor have I acted as a second in carrying a challenge, nor aided or assisted any person thus offending, so help me God. Congratulations.
We have breakfast with your
All right, then next we have Ben Nair. Welcome. All right, if you want to put your left hand on the Bible and right hand, okay. All right, I, Ben Nair, do solemnly swear to do my duty as a firefighter paramedic for the city of Erlanger, to do my best, or to do the best of my ability, to serve my commanding officers with respect and dignity, to serve the citizens of Erlanger with compassion, courage, and integrity, and to uphold the laws and constitutions of the United States of America, the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and the city of Erlanger, so help me God. All right, welcome. Congratulations. All right, next we have Josh Davis. I'm sorry, excuse me. I'm sorry, I skipped over Michael Kappa, excuse me. Welcome.
Oh, she's beautiful.
Good to see you have some help. All right. I, Michael Kappa, do solemnly swear to do my duty as a firefighter EMT-B for the city of Erlanger to the best of my ability, to serve my commanding officers with respect and dignity, to serve the citizens of the city of Erlanger with compassion, courage, and integrity, and to uphold the laws and constitutions of the United States of America, the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and the city of Erlanger. So help me God. Congratulations. All right. Next, we've got Josh Davis. Sorry about that. Welcome. All right. I, Josh Davis, do solemnly swear to do my duty as a firefighter EMT-B for the city of Erlanger to the best of my ability, to serve my commanding officers with respect and dignity, to serve the citizens of the city of Erlanger with compassion, courage, and integrity, and uphold the laws and constitutions of the United States of America, the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and the city of Erlanger. So help me God. Congratulations. All right, next up we've got Jordan Ottaway. Jordan, did I say that correctly? Okay. All right, Jordan. I, Jordan Ottaway, do solemnly swear to do my duty as a firefighter EMT-B for the city of Erlanger to the best of my ability, to serve my commanding officers with respect and dignity, to serve the citizens of Erlanger with compassion, courage, and integrity, and to uphold the laws and constitutions of the United States of America, the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and the city of Erlanger. So help me God. Congratulations. Yeah, please.
I know there's a lot to do, but I just wanted to give a brief bio on both the officers that were promoted tonight. Lieutenant Lemming started his career in 1995, where he worked in Ludlow for 4 years and then went to Edgewood. Fortunately, we got to hire Mike in 1999, where he was an officer with us. He served as a K-9 handler, an FTO officer, a bike officer, a SWAT operator, and a SWAT team leader. He was promoted to sergeant in 2004, and he assumed the position of community resource officer in 2015, the first ever. He's done a wonderful job with that position. He went to APS, the Academy of Police Supervision, in 2005, the Criminal Justice Executive Development Program in 2009, and he graduated from the FBI National Academy in 2014. Mike's been a great asset to our department. he stuck it out through good times and bad, and it's a very proud moment to promote him to lieutenant tonight. So, Mike, come up and say a few words.
I won't be long. I just want to thank, my family, especially my daughters. They sacrifice a lot being in a public service family. So I want to thank them very much for understanding that. I want to thank Chief Tom Collins. He gave me my first job in Ludlow, and I'd like to thank Chief Greg Sandel, if he's here, Chief Mark Fields, Chief Bob Aarons, and Chief Wilson. The one thing that Erlanger does is gets their people prepared for the future. So I hope to return that favor to the young men and women of this department and get them ready to take over our spot someday. And that's my main mission in this new position. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, everyone. Thank you.
And the second promotion tonight was Kim Clare to sergeant. Kim started her career in law enforcement with U.S. Customs as an explorer in 1997. I think she was an explorer with us in 97, right? I did an internship. An internship, okay. Oh, that's the next line. Okay. Classes are great. So she completed her college internship with us in 2000. We hired her as a patrol officer in 2001. She served in many different positions within the police department. She was a hostage negotiator. I think you still are, aren't you? Yes. She currently serves as a hostage negotiator with our SRT team. She's been a detective and an FTO. She will be going to the Academy of Police Supervision in June of this year. Kim was the first female officer ever hired by the city, and now she's the first female to be promoted to sergeant. So she's been here a long time. She's worked hard at it. It's a well-deserved position.
Thank you. I want to recognize my family first, because from the point that I started my career in law enforcement and decided to move in this direction, my family has been a tremendous support in helping to be there and support me and further my career. My amazing husband, and I have 3 wonderful children, and their grandparents have been a tremendous, tremendous help to me. I also want to express my sincere gratitude and appreciation for the opportunities that I've been given here in the city of Erlanger. I knew from day one when I began my internship, retired Chief Bob Aarons, who was then a lieutenant, asked me if I had considered doing local law enforcement. I had initially intended to do federal law enforcement. However, after completing my college internship here with the city, I knew that this was my home. I knew this was where I wanted to be, and I knew that this was the family atmosphere and the camaraderie I was looking for in the career of law enforcement. I have been truly blessed to work with some of the guys that have moved up into leadership ahead of me and who have retired before me, and I'm looking very much forward in expressing and sharing that type of camaraderie and family environment in the newer and younger officers that are coming in behind us. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Sergeant. If I can, Mayor, I'd like to take this time to present a service award pin.
That'd be great. Thank you.
To Officer Greg Holman. Come on up, Greg. Greg is receiving his 25-year service pin tonight. He started with the department back in 1991. He was promoted to sergeant in 2000. He instituted one of our the first neighborhood watch program. He's been a member of our honor guard, the police department honor guard, since the day it was formed. He was a field training officer. He's a graduate from the Southern Police Institute from the University of Louisville. He was a road sergeant until June of 2013, and he retired in 2014. Greg served a long career on the police department, and I guess after a few months of being bored and retired, he decided he wanted to come back to work. So Greg is one of our 3 part-time patrolmen now. He serves a lot of different interests for the police department, and I'm very proud to give him his 25-year service pin tonight.
Thank you. I can honestly say that this is one of the most proud moments of my career, if not the most proud. I myself am from a public service family. My brother was a Cincinnati police officer. My other brother is the fire chief of Alexandria. This is just part of our family's DNA. And Chief Wilson hit the nail on the head. You know, I took a year off, basically. I found out I still had the itch, if you will. Came up and spoke to Chief Fields, and I can honestly tell you that I felt welcome right back into the same family. So again, very proud to serve for this city. I've seen a lot of growth, very proud of that growth. I feel like I've grown along with the city. I'm looking to get another 5 years under my belt. We'll see where that stands. I got one more space on the wall for a 30-year pin. Hopefully I can make that. But again, thank you very much. Proud to serve for this city.
Thank you. Yeah, Chief, yeah.
I don't shy away from an open mic often, you know that. But there was a lot of talk about family and the atmosphere and the culture here in this city. And I would be remiss if I didn't bring those 4 young men that were sworn in tonight just to tell you just a brief synopsis about them. Many of you also know that my children are both graduates of the University of Alabama, Roll Tide. And I happened to be reading an article last night about the recruiting class for their football team for next year and how they are loading up once again. I'm not going to put this in like UK basketball. I'm going to put it in football terms here. But I feel like we're doing that with these young men. This is a top recruiting class. I feel like a coach, and I'm very proud to have these young men become part of our team. There's a lot of momentum going on right now, and these guys are going to be a huge fit for us. Ben Nair, come up here, please. I'd like you to be able to see a face with a little background. Ben, has completed our orientation. He is assigned to our green shift. Ben is an Elder High School graduate, currently living in Delhi. Following high school graduation, Ben enrolled and successfully completed his fire training at Scarlet Oaks. Ben then completed his paramedic training with the University of Cincinnati. A few of his interests, as I read this, I put your girlfriend Michelle. Always has to be a top interest there. Also golfing and camping. Ben looks forward to continuing his training and advancing as an instructor with our department, and we're very, very pleased to have paramedic Ben Nair join our team. Mr. Kappa, Mike Kappa, not Joe Kappa. We have 2 Kappas now, all from Elder. Mike, after completing orientation, has followed Ben. They are both on green shift now. I mentioned Mike is also a graduate of Elder High School, lives in Cincinnati. He attended University of Cincinnati, where he has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, obtained his fire certifications at Cincinnati State, and is currently enrolled at UC for the paramedic program. Prior to coming to Erlanger, he worked part-time for Blue Ash, Fairfield, Cheviot, and Miami Township. So if y'all are going across the river and you don't know where you're going, he probably knows where you're headed. He also serves as first lieutenant in the Ohio Army National Guard. We're very, very pleased to have another Kappa, Mike Kappa, with us. His wife Jessica is here tonight. Their 2 children, Eloise and Jude. He likes to spend time with his family, which I understand that, and likes to be in the outdoors. Let's please welcome Mike Kappa to the department. Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis, after orientation, has been assigned to Red Shift. Now, we're coming back across the river here. Josh is a Boone County High School graduate, furthered his education in Northern Kentucky University and the University of Cincinnati. Josh has successfully completed his paramedic classes and is 1 test away from being a licensed paramedic. He has spent the last 5 years working for the Ludlow and Walton Fire Departments and Park Hills. Chief Rigney would get me if I didn't say that one. He currently resides in Park Hills with his wife, Michelle, and their 2 daughters, Bailey and Piper. And once again, we're thrilled to have Josh Davis join our team. There's only one left. Come up here, Mr. Ottaway. Mr. Ottaway and Mr. Davis both went to Redshift after orientation. Jordan is a graduate of Ludlow High School and is currently enrolled in paramedic school. Prior to working full-time with Erlanger, Jordan worked part-time with my old academy brother, Rob Dreyer, down in Ludlow. He's earned his firefighter certifications and hopes to obtain his IFSAC certifications in the near future. Jordan and his wife, Jalen, who's flying back from Orlando, I think you told me, for a conference from work. She could not be here tonight, but they live in Ludlow, and they are expecting their first child. So let's welcome Jordan to our team. And we have a service pin award tonight, a 20-year pin to Lieutenant Randy McMullen. Randy is the son of Mac and Vicky, and they're both legacies of this department. His mother was a member of the Ladies Auxiliary back in the day, just a couple years ago, I think.
Yeah.
And his dad is an honorary member of our department. Randy himself started at the age of 14. That's 1998, so you all do the math and figure out how old he is. In 2000, he became a volunteer. He received his firefighter certification in 2001. He began as a part-time employee in 2007. In 2012, he became a paramedic while working full-time with the Point Pleasant Fire District. Randy was hired here in Erlanger full-time in August of 2013. In May of 2015, he was promoted to shift lieutenant. His wife, Anna, and your son is like a true legacy. I don't know, is it double legacy? Randy's wife, Anna, is the daughter of our retired member, Todd Shulkers. So I don't believe your son, Aiden, has a chance. I think he's headed right into the service now. He has 2 children, Aiden and Ava, and wife, Anna. Congratulations, Randy. Ultimate great member of our team, and it's a blessing to have him. Here's congratulations on your 20 years.
Thank you, everybody. I feel like I've grown up here. I have grown up here, but definitely in the firehouse, the schools. I've lived in Erlanger most of my life. You know, I've got to work under and learn from some very influential people and leaders in this city, and it's really kept me on a good path, and I don't know where I'd be if it wasn't for Erlanger, so thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Bogard.
Well, we saved the best for last, so we're up here to celebrate Ralph Sidnor and his 15-year anniversary. Ralph started with the city back on February the 9th of 2001, and I think, Ralph, we were in transition from moving over the hill in the old Rankin building and coming up into this building at that time, so remember that vividly. Ralph's been a member of our department for the last 2 years, and we've welcomed him in. We could tell you countless things that he contributes to this city, but I want to tell you about 2 things that are important to him. His family outside of work and his family inside of work. They mean a great deal to him, and with that being said, I would like Missy Anders to come up and have the honor of presenting his service pin to him.
Well, my job allows me to visit each department, and I can tell you guys some things you might not want to hear. Just kidding. I think you're only as good as the people around you, and I've been lucky that I've had some great people around me for the past 15 years, and it's made me be who I am and let me do what I do for these people. So I thank you for that, and everybody around here.
Thank you, Ralph. All right. The next item on the agenda is the mayor's report. Just want to give a quick update of some of the things that are going on. Last week, we had a meeting with the OKI, I'm sorry, not OKI, but the State of Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. I'll wait just a moment for things to die down. As if a lot of you may already know, we have been working on some transfers of some of our streets. The state would like to take over Kenton Lands Road, and they would like to transfer several streets back to Erlanger. Those include Holly Lane, Baker Street, and the extension of Houston Road across Turkey Foot leading toward the old cinema property. And we had a couple questions that were lingering, and we had a chance to have an open discussion with the Transportation Cabinet. It was a very fruitful meeting, and it sounded like they've got a couple things they want to check on and get back with us, but it sounds like we're going to be moving forward with those transfers, and I'm sure Mr. Viox will update us in the upcoming months here on those. We also had a meeting with Toyota. Some of you may or may not realize we have a regular meeting with Toyota, a quarterly meeting, and that also went well. As well as can be expected. They're still on their way out. The good news is that their departure from the city is still being pushed back. At this point, it is we're looking at the end of 2017 at the soonest. Things are taking longer in Plano and Michigan, and so they're still a part here, and they're going to be a part of our community for at least another almost 2 years. And then just another quick update, we've got a zoning seminar here in this room tomorrow. We've got Rick Pike, who's coming up here with the Kentucky League of Cities, and he's going to be putting on an 8-hour seminar. It's something that we can use to get our the people who serve on our committees caught up to date with their continuing education hours. People will get 8 hours for attending this seminar, and that'll be tomorrow here. That's the only other thing I had on my list of updates for the mayor's report. So we'll move on to reports from committees. We'll start with public safety, police. Mrs. Sidkamp? Ms. Kyle?
With the length of the agenda, we decided that we would not have a report, but the chief is in the house if he has anything else he wants to say.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next is fire EMS. Mrs. Skidmore, Mr. Meyer?
I'll just read a little paragraph. This is Fire and EMS Department made a total of 266 responses for the month, 98 fire incidents, and 168 EMS dispatches. There were 6 reported fires in the city of Erlanger and a total of 92 non-fire rescue events during the month.
All right.
And the chief is in the house.
Chief Whitaker? Thank you. All right, then moving on, we've got Public Works, Mr. Cahill, Mr. Skidmore. Anything to report?
Yes, Public Work is, they have done some pothole repairs for the month of January. They've done 91 potholes in 4 zones. We would like to have a committee meeting on February the 16th to talk about capital projects.
Talk about what? I'm sorry.
Capital projects.
Oh, okay. At the committee meeting? All right.
Mr. Bogart is in the house, and we'll have correspondence at the appropriate time.
All right. Thank you. Then moving on to administration, Mr. Howard, Mrs. Cahill.
Well, I'm glad to have my partner back. We've got one thing on our legislative agenda tonight, and that's on job description and wage scales. And I believe that's up for first reading tonight. If there's no objection, we'll move on forward with that one. So just a few things going on is the general government office will be closed on Monday, February 15th for President's Day. I want to remind council that the annual civics field trip with Tishner Middle School will be held on Thursday, March 24th, 2016. That's always a good time with the kids from Tishner, so look forward to that as well. Just give you some property tax updates. We collected in January $62,811. So far for the tax year 2015-2016, we have collected $4,086,694, and we still have outstanding $120,845. So I wanted to bring that to council's attention as well. And I believe I'm going to actually turn it over to my cohort over here to talk about events coming up.
Upcoming events, well, I guess we already had it. The baseball lottery was held yesterday, February the 1st at 6:30, and all past participants were notified and the media outlets notified. This Sunday, February the 7th, from 2 to 3 p.m. at the Kenton County Library, there is a party for children 2 to 12, and will include face painting, balloon sculpting, crafts, cookies, and goodie bags. This event is free to charge. Erlanger Day at Super Bowl is Sunday, February the 21st at 2 p.m. This event will be free to the first 100 Erlanger residents to pre-register and will include 1 game of bowling and shoe rental. If we do not reach 100 pre-registered residents, they will be allowed to attend the day of the event with proper ID. And I think that's it. Thank you. Glad to be back.
Glad to have you back.
And Missy Andrus is in the house. And Sherry Hoffman's in the house.
Sherry's in the house. Okay.
End of report.
Thank you. All right. The next on the agenda is Economic Development and Finance. Mr. Blankenship, Mrs. Pitts.
Thank you. We had a Finance Committee meeting on January the 19th in which we discussed the city's cash reserves and the impact of tax changes and some expenditure changes as well. And we distributed a memorandum, Ms. Pitts and I did, discussing outlining the impact of the various changes. So that's all for now.
Staff's also in process of entering all the expense estimates prepared by the operating departments for fiscal year 2017. Meetings with each department will begin next week. The council budget retreat is scheduled for Saturday, March 5th, and Greg's in the house.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Engelman. Next up, we've got Codes, Building, and Zoning. Mr. Dunhoff, Mr. Burke.
First of all, we had a meeting on January 19th regarding the Board of Adjustments open seat, and the mayor filled that with Rob Newhouse, who's going to join our team, and a resident of our city and a real good young man. He'll do a good job. And on the home and in-home business, I'll just report progress on.
All right.
And then Mr. Hahn's out ill, so we haven't had anybody here, so that's the end of our report.
All right.
You got anything?
No, sir. Thank you. Is that rain?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. The heavens have opened.
And I think the plan is then that we'll swear in Mr. Newhouse at the committee meeting.
No, at the next regular meeting.
Oh, the next regular meeting. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Yeah, we had a loose end we had to tie up on that.
Okay. All right. I'm just realizing that I have a conflict on the 5th that I'll have to, the budget retreat's more important. I'll have to shift some things around here. The next up, we have Progress and Revitalization. Mrs. Pitts, Mr. Cahill.
No report.
Nothing to report? All right, thank you. You've heard the reports of our committees. Do I entertain a motion that they be adopted as presented? Motion by Mrs. Kyle, second by Mrs. Sedkamp. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, do we have any reports from our representatives? Seeing none, we'll move on to the reports of city operations. City Engineer, Mr. Viox.
Yes, sir. The city we'll be taking bids for the reconstruction or pavement replacement on Spring Valley Drive from Turkeyfoot Road to Ridgewood, to Circlewood. That's Ridgewood. On the 16th. And the Public Works Committee will be reporting about those bids at the committee meeting that night. To add to the mayor's comments about the street swap with the state, In an earlier meeting that we had prior to the last week, we expressed concern about the condition of Holly Lane and Hartman/Houston Road, and the fact that the road that they were getting, we had already resurfaced, which was Kent Lands. So they have, in fact, agreed to resurface both of those roads before they turn them over to us. On the 3rd Street, which is Baker Street, we assumed all along was our street. We've been resurfacing for several times. So we're really not getting anything we weren't already taken care of. That's all I have, sir.
All right, thank you. Next is a report from the city attorney, Mr. Gatlin.
Yeah, real briefly, we've still been working on the SD1 litigation/resolution. Met at the mayor's group meeting 2 weeks ago. We have officially added several cities, including Fort Mitchell, Fort Wright, Park Hills, Silver Grove, Independence, Crescent Springs. I think there's a couple others that maybe I have forgotten. And this week there are 2 other cities in Kenton County that are going to be joining, and the whole wave of river cities in Campbell County I expect to join in the next 7 to 10 days. And we're really looking for because we've built a pretty strong consortium, we're going to be able to have a nice sit-down meeting with the board, and we're hopeful to have a solution outside of litigation. And but for the collaboration of all of these cities and communities kind of working together, saying no to SD1, I don't think we would have ever had a legitimate shot at a compromise. So hopefully next month we have more news on that. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Next up, we've got the city council attorney, Mr. Wickman.
Now, Mayor, I've got 2 things that are good things to talk about. First of all, the property at 811 Stevenson Road that was sold at the Master Commissioner sale today. Sales price was about $60,000. The bank bought the property in. That doesn't mean something's going to happen tomorrow. It's not, but we're making progress, and hopefully we'll get that done in a reasonable period of time.
Somebody else owns it.
The other thing is, I'm kind of proud of looking at the end of the year, and of course get your IRS and 1099s, and the bottom line is our office collected about $10,000 more than what we got paid this year. So we're operating in the black. I think we collected almost $81,000 in fines and forfeitures.
Wow, that's awesome.
Good job.
That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wickman. Next up is the city administrator, Mr. Fields.
Thank you, Mayor. Next committee meeting on the 16th, we'd like to make that a special council meeting also that night to have second reading of those ordinances that we're going to be reading later tonight about the wage scale and the job descriptions. If that would be okay with this body, we could do that. Also on that night, we need to have a committee meeting to talk about fees for electrical inspections. So if we could add that to the agenda for that night also. Following up on what the home business is, we're working on that now, so we will have a draft of that to you very shortly. As a matter of fact, the mayor and I had some conversations today about that, so we'll have something back to you all in the next week for you to look at, probably by the end of this week, for you to look at and make any suggestions too. So I just want to bring you up to date on that one. That's all I have, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, you've heard the reports of our representatives and city operations. Do I entertain a motion that we adopt as presented? Motion by Mr. Howard, second by Mrs. Kyle. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next up, we've got our correspondence. Mrs. Hoffman, do we have any correspondence to review this evening?
I do. The Administration Department employees received a letter from Family Resource Center Coordinator Lauren Parker with Miles Elementary School. She thanked the employees for adopting families and assisting with their 2015 Christmas Assistance Program. The Administration Department staff also received a letter from Tichenor Youth Service Coordinator Karen Hughes. She thanked the employees for donating gift cards to purchase holiday assistance for their students and families as well. And the administration department also received a letter from Erlanger-Ellesmere School Health Services nurse Mary Birch. She thanked the employees for donating gift cards to assist in the purchase of much-needed medication and other supplies for the children in the school district. And the holiday and prescription assistance would not have been as generous if it had not been for an Erlanger resident who wishes to remain anonymous. We thank this person for thanking our community every year. He's been doing it for quite some time. And we also received a thank you card from Tom and Kathy Cahill for keeping them in their thoughts and prayers. And that's all I have, sir.
Wonderful, thank you. Mr. Cahill?
I do have something to Public Works. This was in relation to the snowfall on Friday, I believe it was the 22nd or 23rd. And gentlemen, Dave and Joni Weaver on Hope Lane would like to thank them for the great job they did of clearing off the streets, and they could tell the difference. Once they hit it up, they started coming on other city streets, and what a good job Rick and his crew had done to clear those streets. So thanks, Rick.
All right, thank you. All right, then the next item on our agenda is the citizen and public comments. We've got 2 names signed up this evening. We'll start with Joy Stamper. Come on up to the microphone, please.
My husband and I own all about here in Erlanger. And we were concerned about the new grocery store that was put in. We got a phone call, an anonymous phone call today, stating that they were slaughtering animals there at the store. And I was wondering what the zoning is for slaughterhouses in the city of Erlanger. And another thing I'm concerned about, if they're doing this kind of things, how are they getting rid of carcasses? We've got some neighbors that are with me that are concerned also because they're already smelling odors. There are young families that are close to that property that have children. And if that is going on there, I think it should be addressed and be done properly if they're going to be able to do this. It's, you know, if they're slaughtering people, slaughtering animals, where's the blood going? How are they taking care of what they're supposed to be doing? And what's the health reasons? And why? And if it is happening, why is it being let happen? Because different people didn't know anything about, they knew it was a grocery store, but they didn't know they were slaughtering animals in that grocery store.
Okay, I don't necessarily have an answer for you on the zoning for the slaughterhouse. And I know Dave Hahn, who would typically be able to answer those questions. Okay. But, okay, so I don't have answers for you right now. But
when can I get some answers for that?
Right now.
Okay.
Maybe not all of them, okay? But it is zoned for a food store or a supermarket. There's no definition in our zoning regulations of food store and or supermarket. Our
a food store and what?
Supermarket.
Okay.
So our zoning people looked at it and looked at this as a continuation of that food mart. So they do slaughter animals there, okay? When they did the building, redid the building, SD1 came in and made sure that all of the disposal equipment was in there. So SD1 handled that. As a matter of fact, the health department, they had to get a health department certificate. And as a matter of fact, in December 22nd, I just looked this up today, they were inspected by the health department, and the health department gave them a 98 out of 100. I've got every food store and restaurant in the city of Erlanger, and nobody scored higher than that one. So I will say this, you know, if there's odors coming from it, then that falls under our nuisance ordinance. So they need to be calling us. We have gotten absolutely no calls about this whatsoever. So we will address that under our nuisance because no odors are supposed to be coming from there, no sounds to disturb the neighborhood. So if that's occurring, we can address that. We just didn't know anything about it. This is the first we've heard of the noise and the
okay, I got a call today, and I would appreciate it if
you
all would check it out.
They should be calling us, so please tell them to give us a call. Okay, my number's on the website, or it's called 2525.
I have another question. Have you driven back on the property to see what it looks like?
I have not.
It's horrible.
Okay.
It's rancid.
Okay.
I have driven back there myself. I've got a guy that lives here.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Yeah. I know where you're coming from.
Mine too, so.
But anyways.
I had a first time.
You did it the first time. We all had a first time.
I'm Blake, my name's Blake Wayman. I live on the third house on the left on Sunset. And so that facility is directly behind my house.
Backyard, yes.
And my dogs are constantly, I've been a resident for 8 years there. And as far as odors, that is true. My wife, I work a second shift, and I hear commotion over there. There's always a loud commotion. It's garbage. Garbage from their facility is coming down even our property. But with that being said, I don't know. It's nasty, and we see a difference. Living here for 8 years, I see a difference, and it almost makes you want to leave, especially when you have 2 kids, 2 little boys playing back there. My dogs constantly live back by the fence now because they know they smell it. So,
like I said, this is the first time that we've heard of it.
Right.
Of any kind of nuisance going
well,
on. So
we
will
address
something
happens
that.
again, I'm going to call. So that's when we'll start doing.
We'll go up there tomorrow, but please
thank you.
do. But please do call us.
But would anybody like that in their backyard? No. It's terrible.
Well, that's why all the disposal, I believe, equipment was placed in there was so those things would not happen and those kind of things. Yeah.
Is that anybody? Me as an American, can I open up a store somewhere and have this? I mean, I have a buddy that runs a beef jerky business, so I couldn't imagine him down there slaughtering his animals. It just doesn't. It doesn't make sense to me. So it just doesn't seem right. So
okay.
I'm their neighbor. I live right there in my backyard. I could see that facility in my backyard. So.
But please give us a call if that is being a nuisance. We'll go up there tomorrow.
JD.
I just want to make one comment. I also got a phone call regarding that today, and as soon as I got the phone call, I contacted Mr. Fields, and he was looking into the ordinances and everything today. So we were first notified of it today, too. So I did make that phone call as soon as I got the phone call and called Mr. Fields, and he started working on it right away. So they are looking into it. We'll be up here tomorrow. And they will be there tomorrow.
Thank you for taking the time. Please.
Couple concerns about.
If you wouldn't mind, just state your name and.
Sure. My name's Bill Vogt. I live over on Lafayette.
Okay.
I had a couple concerns. We say that they're slaughtering animals. One thing is, are they slaughtering cows? Are they slaughtering small animals? Or are they reprocessing something that's coming in? Or are they, and how are they transporting them in? When I see a slaughterhouse, I see a big semi on the road with 20 or 30 cows in it, and they're going to the slaughterhouse. I'm just trying to understand what are they bringing over there, or how are they doing that, or how are they getting the animals in there that they're slaughtering?
Our understanding is the animals are stored on a farm in Boone County where they're chosen by the customer, and then they're brought there, transported there, I believe one at a time, maybe 2, to be butchered and processed for that one customer. So they're not to store any animals there except bringing those there that are going to be processed.
Is this business 7 days a week?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I can't answer that right now.
But it's typically, is there a limit on how many they can bring in or transport at a time in the city?
They're not allowed to store. Now, when I talked to the zoning people this morning, or this afternoon after Mr. Dunhoff called me, the way I understood it was they were supposed to transport them there, and whatever was going to be processed that day was going to be processed that day. I can't tell you how many that is right now. I don't have that answer.
Okay. But these are typically, I'm guessing.
Small animals.
Small animals?
I believe so, yes.
Like smaller than cows?
I believe goats, lambs, things like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Is there anywhere else in Erlanger where they do this?
To us, we have Bluegrass Meats here, and they process meat down there also. So yes.
So it's kind of like the same principle as Tuis as it's up there.
No, I won't say it's the same principle. I'm not sure. I can't make that statement. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess my other question is to the gentleman that was up here before. Have you had any kind of odor?
There's been odor coming from that facility that we haven't. I've
Okay.
I will say again, Billy, this is the first day we heard anything about this.
Yeah.
And when I got the phone call, like I said, I called.
Good.
Right away, we jumped on it, so it's being looked at, but we only got notified of it this afternoon, so.
Yeah. Anytime any of you have any concerns.
Yeah, you gotta
You know,
call.
we can't be everywhere. Yeah, and
Yeah, but-
I
We hear you.
sincerely
Pick up that phone,
appreciate
call the
that.
police department.
Harold? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Billy.
Please state your name.
My name is Harold Stamper. I got a call today about this meeting, and I talked with the guy over at, he has a business right next door to that property. I think it's called Hand-Me-Downs.
Could be.
Oh, yeah.
So I stopped in and talked with him, and he said that one day, he says, I was just standing there looking out the window, and he seen a goat crossing his parking lot. Went right down Dixie Highway, just lickety split.
Yeah.
So evidently, it's not very secure cage or whatever it is that they keep them in, you know. And a few years ago, a friend of mine got a letter, and he had some chickens on his street. They just happened to roost in one of his trees. Wasn't his chickens. So he got a letter from the city saying that if you don't get rid of your farm animals, you're going to be cited. So now we've got farm animals coming into the city of Erlanger. So, you know, it's, you know, I look at the area and what it's going to do for property values and for the little boys that live next door to it. It's not a healthy scene.
Again, we can't do anything if you all don't tell us what's going on. They're telling you now.
Yeah, we hear it.
No
We hear you.
kidding. No kidding.
We're going to address it.
I really needed you to tell me that. Thank you so much.
Come up and tell us. They're telling you, so you should say what you're going to do.
Well, he's going to be up there tomorrow.
Sooner.
Yeah.
Who put you in charge?
I'm just telling you. It's very bad. I'm sitting here telling these people. Well, tell us.
Harold, I appreciate you coming up this evening. Thank you for taking the time.
Point being,
We're going to
we
address
should
it
have
tomorrow.
called earlier. We could have answered their questions.
All right, that's enough.
That's enough. It's enough.
Okay.
It's enough.
Does anybody else want to come up and speak? All right. All right, then the next name we have on the agenda here is Joe Meyer. Mr. Meyer?
Mayor and members of the council, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to address you tonight. My name is Joe Meyer. I'm from Covington, and I represent an organization called Northern Kentucky United, which is a very diverse group of Northern Kentuckians. We have members from all three counties, from the urban areas, from the suburban areas, all possible political philosophies, all possible political parties, business people, labor leaders, all united with a common concern over the Brent Spence Bridge Corridor project. Now, as we looked at that project, we had questions about tolls, about the failure of that project to resolve congestion issues on I-75, about the cost, about the use of public-private partnerships, about the return on our investment, that significant investment, and questions of fairness. And while we were going through the debate, we were regularly asked, well, what's your plan? What are you going to do different? Now, honestly, we thought that was an unfair question because, after all, the other side has all the engineers and they have all the planners, and we were just a group of citizen activists. But we did look into it, and we took their challenge, and we found that OKI failed to look at diversion of traffic as a means of reducing congestion on the Brent Spence Bridge corridor. When they did their options, all of the options involved the existing Brent Spence Bridge corridor, and they didn't look at ways we could get traffic off that corridor and onto other roads. So our group developed a plan and some recommendations that included, let's go ahead, let's maintain the bridge, because the state stopped maintaining it. Let's maintain it. As a short-term fix, let's improve the approaches, and then we have the Cincinnati Eastern Bypass proposal. The Cincinnati Eastern Bypass proposal would remove through traffic. About 25% or more of the traffic on the corridor is through traffic. It doesn't stop anywhere inside the circle. So if we can remove the through traffic, we add the equivalent of one more lane to I-75 through our entire corridor. We needed to come up with some recommendations where the approach had to be a comparable distance. It had to be a better drive, not steep hills here and there. It needed to offer economic growth opportunity, which the Brent Spence Bridge Corridor Plan does not. And hopefully we could do it at different cost. Now, I've handed out to you before the meeting a pamphlet that describes the plan in some detail, and here's a map of it here. It's actually a 78-mile, excuse me, about a 70-mile bypass from south of the I-75 connection to up north. The cost estimates for this, and these cost estimates were reviewed and devised by transportation engineers, including Dick Christ, who's one of our own, who's in the Transportation Engineer Hall of Fame. And their cost estimates for this entire 70-mile project is $1.1 billion, considerably less than the cost of the Brent Spence Bridge Corridor project. Folks over in Claremont County, their county engineer, their county commissioners have looked upon this proposal with great favor. They've done some work, back of the envelope work on the project, and they agreed that the cost of this project is considerably less than that of the Brent Spence Bridge Corridor. So we've asked, and the governor responded by including in his budget, which is another document I passed out to you, money to maintain the bridge, money to study ways to improve the approaches, and money to study this alternative means of diverting traffic away from the Brent Spence Bridge Corridor. And so I'm here tonight on behalf of Northern Kentucky United and the people of Northern Kentucky to ask the Erlanger Council to support our request for a study as a means of taking the next step to deal with the whole Brent Spence Bridge Corridor issues. You have information. I'll be glad to answer questions that you may have. And again, thanks for hearing me out.
Thank you, Joe.
What kind of cost is it going to cost us? Is there going to be a cost for the study that the city is?
No, sir, none. All you're doing is letting the governor know that Erlanger and other cities, Fort Wright approved this the other night. We agree that this is an effort worth undertaking as part of our community's effort to deal with this whole traffic mess. Randy?
What did you say the cost of the study would be?
The governor's put $2 million in the budget, which includes this study and an analysis of changes to the approaches down in Covington.
Mr. Howard?
I've got a couple questions, Joe. Not that I opposed to what their projections are, but I think the projections for this building is too low. You know, you're talking $1.8 million per mile into that area. You're talking 68 miles, and you know, 68 miles at 1.1 million. Just seems too low for me. I've seen projects happening before that, you know, the projections are low but wind up being so high, you know, later on during the course of the building, you know. And I appreciate everything you're doing there, but I still have questions about that. The second question I have was on your Eastern Bypass thing you asked us to sign. You're asking us to sign here. It says here in the very last sentence, it says, "I believe that it's a vital project for my community that this must be built, regardless of the final solution to the Brent Spence Bridge Corridor project." So now you're asking us not only to build, if the Brent Spence Bridge project is built, to build this Eastern Bypass as well. So I'm opposed to this resolution, Mayor. Sorry.
Well, you can remove this from your packet. That I should not have passed this out. This was meant for different audiences. As to the cost estimates of over $1 billion still come to, I think, somewhere between $8 and $10 million a mile for the bypass. And like I said, the Claremont County folks pretty well substantiated that number is in the ballpark. And the very purpose of the study is to ask and answer the question, who's right? What's it going to cost? If the cost of this bypass comes in where the advocates say it's really worth going on, if the cost of the project says these cost estimates are ridiculous, they're way out of line, we know that this can be put to rest and we can come up with other solutions. So that's why we want to study it. Let's get a fair, objective look at these numbers and this concept.
Yeah, I think that is a little bit confusing, Bill. I saw that as well. That's different than the resolution that we're talking about this evening.
Please, and I apologize, I did not take those out of this handout in my
I saw another hand.
desire to get this in your hands.
Okay.
Mrs.
Skidmore.
If I look at this, it kind of looks like a brain, really. But anyway, do any of the people in the audience want one of these things so they can look at? But anyway, my question is, this is Erlanger, and this is the bypass. What happens to Erlanger?
You're going bypass.
If everybody's going around us, they're going to go to the Arc Park, and then they're going to come back down to Critton, and then they're going to go on up here to who knows where. They're not going to stop in Erlanger.
No, they're going to lose. You're going to lose all kinds of cities.
And what about all the people in Covington? They just did that Riverwalk thing.
They're going to lose it all. That's what you
It goes
got to
all the
look
way
at.
over to Newport? I'm against it. Okay.
Well, this is designed for through traffic. 25% of the traffic that's on the corridor does not stop in Erlanger, Covington, or Cincinnati. They're going from Louisville, they're going from Lexington, Atlanta, to Columbus, to Cleveland, Detroit, to Pittsburgh.
They stop and eat. Do
I
they
can
stop and
see
get
why
gas?
the eastern corridor's for it. It's going right through their towns.
Okay.
Okay, you said that the governor is put aside $2 million for the study. This two-page paper out here, I'm kind of confused because it'll have like different counties and it'll say amount 750,000 or 600,000 or 2.7 million. What is all that?
Okay. This is from the 6-year road plan, and this is an excerpt from the road plan. The first part that's starred, that's got on the front page, third one from the bottom's got the double star. That is the money for the study of the bypass and for the study of the improvement to the approaches. On the second page, you'll see the 3 items that are starred. That is where money has put in to restart the maintenance of the bridge. So you can see that that's about $39 million over the next 3 years.
And did you tell us, I might have just not heard you, what approximate cost it would be to fix the bridge?
Well, it all depends on what you mean by fix the bridge. To maintain it, to do all of what you need to bring it up to ordinary maintenance standards, it's this amount of money. In the initial Brent Spence Bridge corridor plan, the Brent Spence Bridge was not going to be replaced. It was going to be kept, and another bridge 3 times the width of the existing bridge is scheduled to be built next to it. The cost of completely bringing up the bridge to meet all the new standards and everything was less than $100 million, about $78 million. That included replacement of the pavement and major improvements to the point that the bridge would last for another 50-plus years.
So 78 million if they fixed it to where it has all the new regulations.
Well, they would bring it up to standards as well as they could, but there are some limits. I mean, the bridge would still have the lane problems and those kind of issues.
Now, did you tell us how much it would be if they replaced the bridge?
Well, that's interesting. The cost of the project was nominally $2.6 billion. And that went from the Western Hills Viaduct down to about 5,000 feet south of Kyle's Lane. So $2.6 billion nominal. When you add in things like the financing mechanism of the P3 and the maintenance obligations that go along with it, the number actually exceeds $11 billion that would have been subject to repayment through tolls.
I've looked at the route of the proposed eastern bypass. The whole idea behind it is really pretty incredible. Instead of taking the most expensive property through the middle of the city, you know, the most expensive 8 miles of I-75 in our area, and trying to fix that or improve that, they're taking a almost 70-mile route that goes through, you know, essentially through farmland. The route has avoided every community and every town to disrupt, you know, those residents as little as possible. Since the work is being done out in rural communities, it can go much faster. So you're talking about a project that can happen at less than half the cost, nominally, and be done more quickly. And yes, it does bypass our city. But
bypasses a lot of cities. It bypasses Florence, Erlanger, Fort Mitchell, Covington, all these places. They stop and have lunch, or stop and get gas. And I have a problem with a decision being made in the city of Erlanger for the rest of the residents going all the way down I-75, because that was the biggest complaint down there in Covington when they were going to talk about the bridge and not having the exit on 5th Street. All those businesses down there were going to lose their businesses. So I would have to oversee everything that everybody else wants, from Covington on out here, and what their attitude is toward this, because Florence would lose a lot of business.
Well, I think the businesses should be involved in the decision-making. Instead of the cities, I think the businesses should be involved.
well, I think the idea is to appeal to the governor at this point, and it's tougher for all the businesses to join together and speak. I mean, this, in my opinion, this isn't a whole lot different than the resolution that Erlanger passed a few years ago regarding the toll bridge and standing against the toll bridge. I see this as on a very similar level. It's not necessary that we're speaking for every city around us. We are speaking for ourselves.
And you're not making a commitment to the project. You're saying, let's give it a fair look. And then after we have facts, we'll make a decision. And all the cities will have the opportunity to make the decision. Fort Wright has endorsed this. We're appearing before Park Hills next week, appearing before Ludlow later this week. So we're trying to make sure that in this next iteration of whatever is going to happen to I-75, that our communities are not left out, nor are we invited to the dance once all of the decisions have been made. And I think it's important that we look at these so that we can help shape the future of our community, which we can only do if we have access to good, solid, legitimate, objective information. And that's what we're asking for here.
You ever think about just making it a truck route, unless you have a delivery inside the circle?
Well, you remember when Death Hill was being rebuilt back in the 90s, that's what they did, and traffic flowed a whole lot better. We would love to see that happen, but unlike Atlanta, this is a two-state deal, and we can not interfere with interstate commerce. So by prohibiting trucks on the I-75 corridor on the Brent Spence Bridge, the trucking companies would be able to complain to the feds, which they would do, and the feds would tell us we're not allowed to send trucks around. I mean, if we could, that would help a whole lot, and I would certainly be for that, but for whatever reason, it doesn't seem feasible.
You know, one of the things as I'm looking at this, I'm just looking at all the different cities that are on the route, the proposed route. You know, anything from New Richmond, Visalia, Amelia, Batavia, Owensville, Goshen, Morrow. I mean, all these communities that are really out far beyond our reach, you know, essentially, and it's pulling us all together. I think that this is this is essentially a shot in the arm for the entire Cincinnati region. I think it's projects like this that raise the revenue of everything around here. I mean, it really it increases population, and you know, I really don't think it's going to impact Erlanger negatively.
That don't cost us nothing, let's take a look at it.
Yeah.
Should dime. My opinion.
Will the study, is part of the study, if it would affect the businesses? Is that part of the study that they would be looking at?
At this stage, you'll probably just be looking at the, no, as a matter of fact, yes, it will, because we have specifically asked, as part of the study, that there be an economic impact analysis done. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, are there any other questions for Mr. Meyer? All right. Thank you, Joe.
Great. Well, thank you for your attention. Appreciate it very much.
I thought somebody in the audience, I don't know whether you're going to open it up or not, but.
Sure.
I've got a question for him.
Come on up, Mr. Stamper.
Please.
Come on up.
I have a question for him. I don't know anything about this study, but, you know, when you're talking about Eastern Bypass, unclogging it, if you take this study here and compare it to going down on 75, where 75 and 71 comes together, and split the two interstates so that we don't have one road serving two interstates through northern Kentucky and Cincinnati, and splitting that up and connecting it to 471, shoot it on across the river.
That, sir, is, excuse me, that's exactly the concept of the Cincinnati Eastern Bypass. You know, our problem with the Brent Spence Bridge corridor is that it was built for one interstate, I-75, and it's now serving three, I-71 and I-74. So for some reason, here's where I-71 cuts in. We want to pick it up. Because of the development that's in this area, it would be very difficult to take it straight through across there. By going a little south, you can avoid disruption of subdivisions, shopping centers, businesses. I mean, all that has been looked at right here, but that is the very purpose of here. Let's give a full bypass. Let's split as much of the through traffic as possible onto the separate route so that we can decrease the traffic volumes on I-75.
Up there at point A, where does that intersect at?
That's up near Franklin in, what's that, Butler County. And the miles, this route here is only 6 miles longer than this route. And it won't have near the traffic, and the grades are in the 2%, 3% range instead of the 5% range. So it's much more amenable to truck traffic than either I-75 or the I-275 corridor that exists today. And in terms of time, this will actually be A to D here will be 4 minutes shorter in light traffic than, excuse me.
You can take the Visalia Bridge to
A to C would save 44 minutes as opposed to
around here, so doing all this shit.
taking the route through town.
Okay, another question. Is this close to,
No, here's I-471 over here. When I-275 was built, on the Ohio side, it's 19 miles north of the river. On the Kentucky side, it's just a few miles south of the river. Where I-71 comes in, at this point, that's 19 miles south of the river. So just one of those bits of irony. If you had a circle that was as far from the Ohio River on both sides of the river, I-275 would look like this.
All right, thank you.
And this one gives you that option for the through traffic.
All right, thank you. I'd like to move on. All right. Okay, I'm sorry, Vicki.
Question. This little black line at the bottom where it says alternate bypass, that does link into 71. Are they also studying that? That little, yeah.
Well, that's a future concept, you know. I
Off
don't know
of
if
the
they'll
other
get
one?
into it now or later.
Yeah, because I agree with that gentleman, Mr. Stamper. I think that's a great idea, because then you could come from 71. I mean, if you were going to go through with this idea, that you would be coming from 71, you wouldn't have to go to the split. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda are the bids. Are there any bids to review this evening?
No,
None?
sir.
Okay, thank you. Any old business to report? Any new business?
I do have one thing.
Yes, sir.
I was thinking back to last June, and Mr. Fields, you went through a number of KPIs, and I think we were talking about things that we were going to measure over that course. I was wondering if either at an upcoming committee meeting or just a report, if we could see any information about how those KPIs have been doing, if there's additional changes coming, or just, you know, it's kind of a status update around it.
Yeah, yes, we can do that at a committee meeting if you'd like.
Yeah.
February's kind of, March is good?
I mean, I don't think we're in that big a hurry. I was just thinking about, we haven't really seen an update as to where those were.
Absolutely. You know, our goal was to try to get those on the website in January and get that information out there. We have had some transition in personnel, trying to get that reworked, so that assignment that was getting the website hopefully rebuilt, that person left. So we're trying to find that replacement hopefully very shortly, and we've assigned that back to Matt right now, Matt Allen, and he's kind of swamped to get that on. But that's why that hasn't been on there just so far yet.
One other thing that I had is I'd like to have a committee meeting to discuss the slaughterhouse situation. I'm looking at the NC and NC2 zones, and I'm not seeing that text in there. I could be missing it, but.
Yeah, well, under Section 10, and I agree that we need to look at this in all fairness. About 5 minutes before the meeting, I was first made aware of this. And I know Mr. Fields has maybe known it for about 3 hours before the meeting. But I think the argument is, does it fit under food store and supermarket under Section 10.16, Section 18? Neither the term food store nor supermarket are defined in the zoning code. Okay. But what I don't know is whether that term might be defined in case law, or if there's some other. I tried looking up on my phone, but there's only so much you can do on a phone. So.
I did note, and that's great. We'll look at that. I did notice IP1, IP4, which is where TUIS is explicitly calls out slaughtering in the permitted uses.
Okay, good. All right, any other new business? All right, moving on, then we'll move on to legislation. We've got an ordinance. First reading.
It's an ordinance of the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, an ordinance repealing all prior job description and titles, and an ordinance establishing new job descriptions and titles for all city employees, as well as the adoption of an amended pay plan for all new job descriptions and titles. By summary, you can look at the new job descriptions and titles that are incorporated on the first page. The job descriptions are by exhibit, and the pay plan is by exhibit.
All right. I asked Mrs. Hoffman to note the first reading in the minutes. Next, we've got a municipal order regarding surplus equipment.
So municipal order of the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, making the written determinations required by KRS 82.083 for the sale or other disposition of property owned by the city. Attached is the property that is being disposed, and in all, in the first 8 cases, they're recycled at Recycling Center. The second, the Toro Lawn Vacuum, and the John Deere Pro Series Honda Engine Series are going to be sold to another governmental agency.
All right, to entertain a motion that we adopt this municipal order as read. Motion by Mr. Dunhoff, second by Mr. Burke. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next up, we've got a resolution regarding the opposal of the PDS rate increases.
So resolution of the City Council of the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, opposing proposed amendments to Article 18 of the Kenton County Planning Commission's bylaws to increase fees charged for services to be effective January 1st, 2016. By summary, the resolution states that the City of Erlanger opposes the proposed increase in the KCPC's fees to be charged for basic services already funded through tax revenues.
All right, do I entertain a motion that we adopt this resolution as read?
Question. Did they tell us why they're raising the fees or why the fee, I mean?
We really haven't,
More about this.
yeah, we really haven't had an explanation. I mean, other than they are trying to cover their costs. And as you may realize, KCPC pays PDS for those services, and our tax money already pays PDS for those services too. So it's a little bit of a convoluted issue.
A little double dipping, yeah.
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 All right, so do we have a motion on the motion by Mrs. Kyle, second by Mrs. Sedkamp? Any discussion?
I'd like to, there's a couple of things that I have. One, my understanding, and then Corinne, this is about your question, is that these fees cover the things that the tax revenues do not. At least that's as was explained to me. So they have cost in addition to what the taxes are allowed to pay for. But my second thing is, you know, as I was looking, and I know I'd asked some questions about Mr. Hahn about this. I know some of the fees are going up, but there are some of those that the city doesn't need to pay that the businesses could pay when they file those amendments themselves. I was doing the math and looking at last year's. Even if we continue to pay them, it's $3,000 in total. Tax amendments, you know, we'd still be covering it at $22, so I don't necessarily have an issue with that. But I almost see this as even if they continue to pass, we still have the opportunity to reduce some of our expenses by not picking up those fees any longer, and letting the businesses, as they want to make a map amendment, let them pay the fee for their business that's going to come in. So I don't know that really changes, you know, what their fees are going to be.
Yeah, that is a good point. And I have to say I agree with you that I don't completely understand why Erlanger pays for that. Yeah, I think the rationale, and I wish Mr. Hahn was here to explain it, but I think it's more so when it comes to things like a text amendment that we almost need the city's involvement.
The text amendments, we have to file.
I'm sorry, it's the other way around.
Right, the map amendments.
The map amendments. I've never heard it this loud.
It must be the roof. Is there any way that at our committee meeting, I know it's going to be long, but that Dave can maybe just fill us in a little bit on this?
Yeah.
Just so we know everything, and then. That
Okay.
Okay. We can still do a first reading, or it's a
Well, this is
resolution.
resolution. So I'd like to make a motion that we table this for the next council meeting on
We'll
March
add that
1st.
We've already got a motion
Yeah,
and a second
can
on
we
the
do
floor.
that?
We didn't have a motion in a second
We did
yet.
have,
Oh, no, I'm sorry, you're right. We did have a motion in a second.
but then we need to make that motion in a second first before we can refer it, table it, because there's at the table.
Yeah.
I second that we table.
Rescind our motion.
Okay, so
You
let's
can amend
first.
the motion.
Yeah.
Can we rescind our motion?
our motion.
That'd be
Okay.
easier than one,
Yeah.
Is the
two of them.
resolution gonna change anything? We're just saying we don't agree with it, right?
Yeah. We're
So-
saying that we oppose the rate increase.
Right, but they're just gonna say, okay, that's too bad.
Oh, is that all that is? I thought it means that we get out of it.
No, it's just
Oh, I'm so confused.
I'm willing to go either way. You guys decide. Because I think Gary's.
I just want to postpone it.
Okay, so,
If we pass this resolution.
sorry,
saying
we're
this is
sitting
our-
here talking about another issue. Okay, so let's go ahead and have a vote. We had a motion and a second. We've had some discussion. Let's, all in favor, say aye.
What's the motion?
No, I
This
think-
is
I
of
think
the,
she
of the
rescinded her
first.
motion.
I rescinded my emotions.
Your
Motion.
second your motion?
Or second.
Okay, okay.
You don't,
Yeah, just.
if I can interrupt.
Please.
You don't need to rescind anything. You can have a motion to lay what is known as laying it on the table. That supersedes the motion in the second. So you vote on that first. If that passes, then it's done until somebody brings it back.
Okay, that's good.
We're going to lay it on the table?
Yes.
All right, so does someone want to make that motion?
Gary
So
should
moved.
make it.
So moved. Second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Table that.
Table it till March.
We're going to table it.
I'll put it on February.
Okay.
February committee meeting.
I got it.
Yeah. Why don't we open this up for discussion, the resolution supporting the Eastern Bypass Study, before we put it out on the floor.
I thought we did.
Well, we've discussed it here with Mr. Meyer, but
I think as long as we're just doing a study, we're not giving them approval to do it, but we're doing a study to see how the benefits are gonna benefit us, or if it's not, then we can make a decision. I mean, if they're paying for it and we don't have to pay for anything, I have no issue with them doing the study.
Well, I think all that we're doing is showing our support to the governor that we want the study to occur.
Right.
Yeah. As long as it
Nothing
has
more.
some economic base to it,
Right.
so that, to see if it affects our
And
business.
we'd like to see the business part of that
Yeah, that's a high priority.
next, so.
That's what I was gonna say too, because I really think that a lot of people do come through that are traveling, and they do stop at these different cities along 75. I mean, they have to stop for gasoline, and then while they're there, they may stop at a restaurant. So, yeah, I would be interested in the business part of it too.
okay. Very fruitful discussion.
Are we ready for a reading then on it?
Yeah.
All right. So this is a resolution of the City of Erlanger. I've amended it slightly after Mr. Meyer spoke about it. Now the resolution will state that the City Council supports the immediate funding of a feasibility study and/or engineering plans regarding the construction of the bypass, as the City Council believes that the bypass offers significant transportation and economic benefits to the City of Erlanger and to the Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky region, and the City Council supports Governor Bevin and his request for funding a feasibility study and/or engineering plans during calendar year 2016.
All right, do I entertain a motion?
And we're sure there is absolutely no cost to the city.
I'll make a motion.
It's,
Leave your card, would you?
We know where he lives.
yeah, I mean, it's state money. I mean, you can't say that there's no cost. I mean, it's still our tax being paid with our tax money.
So is the whole state of Kentucky paying for it?
We have a couple
or just our
attorneys up
counties?
here.
Whole
It's
state?
state money, yes.
Okay.
I move we adopt the resolution.
All right, we've got a motion.
I got it. Well,
Is that a second?
no, it's not for him. I'll say.
Second from Mr. Blankenship. Any discussion?
Yes, I got just one question. Is the governor's given us we're asking $2 million, right? Okay, there's not going to be any increase from your perspective saying we need more than $2 million?
I can't predict the future, but here's what I do know. The governor proposes, the General Assembly disposes. This has to go through the budget process, and I suspect that in this case, the General Assembly will stick with the governor's recommendation. It's unlikely there will be more or less than this request.
All right, that's all I want to know. That's all I want to know. Thank you.
Okay, on this that was included in our packet that basically said it shouldn't have been included in our packet, okay? Says, I support the immediate planning and construction of the Cincy Eastern Bypass because of its very high regional transportation and economic value. I believe that it is a vital project for my community that must be built now, regardless of the final solution to the Brent Spence Corridor project.
We're not signing that.
No.
We're signing this one. That one we're
That's
not-
garbage.
That's garbage.
That was
Garbage because you knew we
inadvertently.
weren't gonna do- Yeah, inadvertently, thank you, Patty.
Yeah.
Inadvertently got included in ours.
All right, any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carried. All right, then with that, do I entertain a motion that we adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Dunhoff, second by Ms. Skidmore. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.